What's up, guys? We're going to talk about how we can actually improve our property this year. Right now, we can actually do these things to improve our hunting season. It doesn't take very long to do these things to improve the habitat, attract deer, and improve the quality of the soil. We're going to go over a list of things here you guys can implement and improve on your property right away. Number one is figuring out where we can place food plots. Food plots is the base of attracting deer, right? Deer can find a place to bed. If we have the most attractive food, they're usually going to find a place to bed, as I described in my last video. It's kind of like that guy at the barbecue, at the kitchen. He's always standing around, waiting for that food to be done. He's right there, right at that moment. And that's kind of how deer are. Does are like that, and bucks are like that as well. Does, they'll pretty much eat anything, but bucks need a higher quality food, and that's where soil health comes in. And when we place these food plots, we need to place them in areas that relate to the property where we can actually be able to hunt these deer, get in and out of the property without spooking them. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult because we may only lease the land and we may not be able to create different access points. Some properties are going to lay out better than others. That's why when we see these types of things on YouTube where somebody's saying, hey, we have to do this, or we have to do this, well, that property is ideal. Sometimes we can't pick and choose that. We can only lease what we can, right? Sometimes we get lucky, we can purchase the land, we can pick and choose, but majority of hunters don't have that. So we have to work with what we have, right? That's what this channel is based off of. We have to work with what we have to improve the habitat. There's still many, many things we can do. When we find that location of the food plot on a piece of property that relates to, could be related to some close by bedding, could be off to the side where we can scoot around, say, the other side of the property and get around that area. And with this, having the most attractive food plot is, having something in that ground year-round to improve the soil health. And I am not a no-till person. I don't like the rolling thing. I don't do any of that because you're trying to build layers of duff on top of the soil, trying to build topsoil. Well, it takes decades for that to happen. I don't have decades. I have 1 year. It can be done. It's very easy. You get a soil sample, you follow the soil sample, you add whatever the amount of line it tells you to add. You plant something in the spring, such as buckwheat. Further down south, you can get away with 2 to 3 plantings. Up here in the north, we can get away with 1 to 2. We turn that back into the soil. We add green manure to it. Helps hold the soil together. Helps prevent, cracking of the soil. A hard pan on top. We don't need to really roll it. Rollers are not really necessary because rolling flattens that ground out like a pancake, and it creates a hard pan on top, especially when you don't have green manure that you're actually rolling into. Green manure will help prevent that cracking and that pancake effect. An actual cultipacker is ideal when you do this. It doesn't, sometimes most cultipackers, depending on your soil type, won't have that hard pancake effect on top of the soil, right? Soil health is very important. Green manure decaying into that soil is ideal. Planting the right things, like I said, some kind of buckwheat in the spring and summer to lead into your fall food plot, some type of annual plow down clover type setup. It could be a lot of different things that you could use to kind of work in that soil to improve it. You can do this in 1 year. It's very simple. All starts with a soil sample and following those directions on that sample. Second thing is that I fell in love with the last few years is travel corridors. Travel corridors are very, very powerful. And all you're doing is, one, you're taking a existing deer trail and you are improving that. You're finding that deer trail and you're improving it in a way that helps you hunt the property, maneuver the deer, how you kind of want them to maneuver around your property. It can be done. It's very easy. I've done it in areas where I can use a chainsaw, or I felt like using a chainsaw, and I've done it on properties with just a handsaw. It really depends on the type of timber you have and where that trail is actually at. It's all based off the timber. You know, you can use a saw and you just hinge those trees in off to the side in different areas. Say, you know, if you're on a trail and you want to block the deer off on one specific side, you can hinge cut a bunch of them to block them up to where they can't scoot out to the side. And then you can kind of steer them where you want to. Now you don't want to make the whole trail, you know, blocked where they can't escape, because sometimes they will actually avoid it. But when you create travel corridors, it's a very powerful effect. You can literally take a chunk of woods with the right timber in it and literally just make a trail through there with you know, with a little bit of labor, some hand tools and a chainsaw, and the deer will use that trail. It's very simple. Deer will take the path of least resistance almost every single time, right? It's a very powerful tool to use. The last thing is mastering the entry and exit to your property. The number one effect on property with pushing deer off and, you know, all this nocturnal stuff going on is human pressure. We cause this effect on our property. It's very unfortunate that it happens, and there's a few reasons behind it. One is hunters might only have 10 to 20 acres that we can hunt on, and that's all we have, right? For private land access, what happens is it gets overhunted, the person gets excited, the hunter gets excited, they want to hunt it every single time, and in turn, over the next couple weeks, it just actually makes it worse. Sometimes we need to let that property rest and just go hunt some public land. Last year, I fell in love with public land hunting again. I just didn't do it for 15 years or so. I kind of gave up on it because of the amount of pressure on public land, but I got back into it in 2022. I was able to shoot a beautiful velvet buck opening day of here in Maryland with bow season. I was able to shoot that, but there's lots of options just to give the property a rest. You have to let it settle down. You can't overhunt it. The larger the property, the more pressure you can put on it. But mastering that entry and exit, trying to find a property where you have multiple points of access around the sides to come into your property. A lot of times you only have one entry. Well, then you got to get you know, tricky with your entry and exit. You can use screening such as Egyptian wheat products. We use incognito, but you can use that to kind of block your access. You can cut a trail into an off to the side, away from food. There's lots of different things. If you implement this on your property right now, obviously we can't plant food plots, but you can get in there, find entry and exit, cut some ways in and out, get in there, cut these access trails, you know, travel corridors for the deer, get your soil sample, work on your food plots, have a plan. Just those three things right there, you will massively increase your success this coming fall. I've seen it many, many times. Give it time. There's features. If you do it now, it's better than to wait closer to the season. Gives the property time to kind of adjust the deer in the area, and you can drastically improve your property right now.